And welcome in. We are going live here with the NiSi live stream today. Welcome in for those of you who are joining me over on the chat on YouTube. Let me know if you're in there, if you're ready to go. Give me some confirmation that you're hanging around with me right now. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures. I'm your host today with the NiSi stream that we're talking more about the Swift system. And so we're about to go live with our guest, Alexandru Don, and he is going to help us understand exactly how to use that 15 function system of the Swift system, and talking about filmmaking and how to quite pull it correctly where you get going with the right visual, the right audio. Let me go ahead and kill this audio over here. I've tested my audio. I can hear that I'm working pretty solid. I'll have this back on when I'm listening to Alex. But before we go live, I want to make sure that I've got the chat active over on Facebook and here on YouTube. We're mostly here on YouTube today, but it's also going to show up in the NiSi Facebook page. So if you happen to be joining us right now, give me a hello. Let me know where you're coming at us from. And we'll see if we can get some people in here to get a chance at winning a copy, an actual physical copy of the Swift system. You'll get it sent to you by NiSi, and you can get yourself your own for yourself to work with your filmmaking. And looking around, I'm seeing that we have 4 of us hanging out here right now, and it looks like we're getting more that are coming in. When you guys jump in, hit that share button and share it with your friends. We're going to have a lot of information today, and the replay is going to be highly valuable as you're going through. In fact, let me just double check that everything is ready on my end. If you are hanging with me and you've got yourself a phone, go and mute it and get yourself on silent so you're ready to learn from Alex today. So let me double check over here. All right, sweet. We are ready to go. So again, I'm Aaron King. I'm your host, and I'm just going to be your vehicle to learn from Alex today. I'm going to put my headphones on so that we can hear him, so I can bring Alex into the live stream, and we can get talking about this awesome system that is the Swift system. So let me just double check in the background that we have everything connected, and we are good to go. So, hey, Alex, welcome in. How's it going?
Hey, what's good? I'm really happy to be here on the live with you guys. I'm pretty good. I'm back home. I'm doing amazing. And I cannot wait to talk more about this filter because I think it's revolutionary, and I honestly love it, and can't wait to share more.
Awesome, right on. So if you're here with the chat and you want to ask a question of Alex and you're afraid that I might not see it, just hit us up in the chat with all caps, an all caps question, and then we can make sure Alex asks it. Interrupt us at any point during the live stream so that we don't miss your question. And you'll see this square of my face going off and on as we go throughout the live stream as I let you focus in on Alex. So Alex, for those of us uninitiated who don't know Alexandru Don, where are you from and where are you coming at us from right now?
So I'm from Romania. I'm based here in Romania, which is a small country in Europe. And this is where I was born. This is where I work most of the time. But most of the work that I do is internationally. So I work with a lot of brands outside the country. But it's pretty convenient to stay here because it's not so expensive. So when you live in a non-expensive country, it's nice to work with abroad companies because you make more money this way. I think this is an advantage of living in a smaller country. But other than that, I'm also a Sony Pro ambassador, which is, I think, a big thing. And I do a lot of YouTube stuff, and I shoot a lot of commercials. And probably this is how I got to be well known in the filmmaking industries, for showing my behind the scenes on most of my commercials that I've done so far. And I hope I helped a lot of people by doing this, and I showed them a lot of tips and tricks. So
awesome. Well, before we get into some of the specifics of the gear, myself, I'm a YouTuber. I teach Milky Way photography, and I've always wanted to be a filmmaker growing up. And once YouTube came around, it was like, wow, the perfect medium for someone who just doesn't have the person hiring me to be a filmmaker, where I could just start being a filmmaker. So there's so much stuff that I've been able to practice, get better at, and learn. And I recognize that filmmakers in this world that have the traditional upbringing or the traditional company they work for, they get saddled with a the type of style. You kind of come in, it's like, here's your style, here's what we want you to accomplish. You have people in suits telling you what to do and how to do it, right? In YouTube, you're really free to make these choices, these stylized choices of how you're going to do it, what's kind of your brand, what's your style. So I ask it, Alex, for the first question where I'll kill my screen so you're not watching me, we're focused straight on Alex. I'm going to ask you, man, what is your filmmaker style? What really defines Alexandru Don?
So that's a good question, to be honest. And I I think my style is I try to be the cool kid, let's say. I try to implement a lot of the cool things that I've seen in movies, that I see in a lot of the commercials that I like. So how I created my style is based on the people that I aspire. So for example, there are a lot of people that I look up to and I love things that they do, and I take a little bit from that, a little bit from here, and I join them together and I make like a soup of amazing qualities that I see here and there, and I try to create my own style by doing that. One thing that I think I get remarked by is that I managed to get amazing images and colors out of Sony cameras, which a lot of people have trouble doing it. And I think I developed a style of color grading and shooting in a way that people might recognize my work just by seeing some of the trades that I do. For example, one of the things that I do in most of my videos is do slow shutter effects. Oh. And I try to color grade in a way that's quite different from what you see in most of the commercials that I see. Most people like the low contrasty filmmaking style. I love more contrast. I love more sharpness to the image. I love an image that speaks quality. So I'm a little bit off trend in some situations, but I try to create a trend of my own that people might aspire to someday or even now.
Well, that's awesome. When I think about your style coming from the color correction, the color grading that you do, and then you mentioned the slow motion technique that you like, what got you into that? What was your big inspiration for going that style?
So the slow shutter effect is actually an effect that requires sometimes an ND filter, basically. So in order to make that motion blur, motion trail, or I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I think it's an effect that breaks your action. So I usually use it in order to create a segment in my edit. Like, for example, I want to break my audience attention, or I want to distract him a little bit in order to push him attention towards something else. I will insert a slow shutter effect in there. Or if I want to increase the dynamic of the video, I'll do more slow shutter effects, and then I put a slow motion after that. And I think you can create a really good balance between fast motion, slow motion with this slow shutter effects that, if you want to do it right, you need an ND filter, because you have to lower down your shutter speed a lot. So you definitely gonna have to work on that exposure with an ND filter.
Well, right on. We're going to get a chance here at the end to talk about maybe some of your advice for new filmmakers, but you started mentioning some of the gear. Now, you're mentioning the gear that we're going to talk about today specifically, but also some of your other filmmaker gear. What are some of the pieces of gear that are essential for filmmakers? Obviously, the ND filter is a huge one. What else comes to mind?
So usually for what I do is I definitely need a monitor or something that I can check my image, because usually when I shoot S-Log3, the way that I expose correctly is by having a lot on my monitor. So I always have to have a monitor with me and have a lot on it so I can expose correctly. Obviously, I know how to expose the S-Log correctly even without a monitor, but if I have a monitor, it's perfect. Nowadays on the Sony FX3, which got an update, you can have an LUT import on the small screen of the camera, which is amazing. So now I can obviously monitor my shots without a monitor. And besides a monitor, I think another important thing for me is because I shoot a lot of handheld, I think it's very important to have a top handle. I also mentioned cool handheld technique on my Instagram a few weeks ago, where I showed people how to film as smooth as they can by shooting handheld. So for me, if I have a good camera, a good lens, a good filter, monitor, and a top handle, I'm happy. I can do my job. So
That top handle, when I see a lot of filmmakers using that footage,
yeah,
and I have a Canon, I work with a Canon, the some of them will have the articulating screen, some will not, and I see everyone looking down and catching their focus, and pulling their focus, looking
yeah.
down. So where's your monitor at when you're hand holding like that and you're using a top down handle?
It's usually on, like, if you see here in the back,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
right over there. So
So it's right in front of you on top of the camera body, really.
yeah,
Okay.
because otherwise you're gonna be like standing like this. So you're
Yeah.
at 50 years old, you're gonna be way smaller than you would expect, because you're gonna stay like this with your neck. So
Yeah, right on. It's something we
yeah,
definitely want to avoid having. Like, it's already bad enough with all of our cell phones where we're constantly cricking our neck down. So it's
yeah,
like we want to avoid being just like the weirdest Quasimodos by the time we hit 50, 60. So when you're dealing with filmmakers and working with all of the gear, now this is going to be NiSi related.
yeah.
Filters. What are the essential filters for filmmakers?
So what I usually use the most is the NiSi True Color variable ND filter, and I use the one that has 1 to 5 stops. And that one, I think it's perfect for me because I shoot a lot on FX3 and A7S3 from Sony, and
Mm.
these cameras don't have ND filters in camera. So I have to have a filter that works really good, even in harsh daylight condition and also in dimmer lighting condition. And I think I've tested so many filters along my career, and I had so many of them. Most of them uh, were not that bad, but they all had something that I can complain about. But with the NiSi filter, I think I finally found. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm on a live stream with NiSi.
Are
This is
you? Are
on.
you?
This is honestly my honest opinion about this, because this is the filter that I recommend to everyone,
Hmm.
even before I had anything to do with NiSi. So I think it's a filter that you don't have anything to complain about. And from my point of view, I think it's super versatile. Like, I've used it even with a 50 millimeter f1.2, and I shot everything at 1.2 in bright daylight with a filter that the NiSi True Color ND filter, and was the one from 1 to 5. So it wasn't the one that is more uh, powerful, let's say.
Yeah. And when you think about the fact that we are talking about a pretty awesome piece of gear, it's really good that we're bringing someone in who's not like, hey, we need you to talk really well about this filter. So can you learn how to use it and then tell people about it? No, we got a case here, everybody, with Alex, who actually uses this currently with his gear. And why he loves it is why we invited him to join me today to talk about this gear. So with that in mind, knowing that we have your full recommendation on this gear, let's get into some of the specifics on the gear so everyone who's watching can know, okay, wait a sec, what is the system? What's the Swift system? And why do I want it? And we'll go through some videos that Alex has made himself. We'll play the filmmaker role side where we talk, okay, how did you create this clip and that clip and what came into the planning for this clip? We'll kind of break it down together after I show the clip. But we're going to go through these pieces of gear one by one and hanging out here with Alex. So as I think about this, let's begin with the video that you created where you show off this is not you talking about it, but it's actually you showing off the working with the gear. And then after I show the clip, let's go through it, me and you, Alex, and talk about how the gear specifically helped you shot by shot almost. So let's go ahead and enjoy clip one with everybody right now.
Just wanna forget back to before we lost it. What we can't get back, Talking about something stupid. Smoke and mirrors, losers, winners. Don't know who I am anymore. For having got you, I got nothing. The fool's gold and I don't know what for. You turn the black and white to color. You made it beautiful.
All right, and so take my audio. Audio's good. Okay, sometimes when I transition out of a clip, the audio goes bye-bye. So those of you who are enjoying this right now on a replay, hey, welcome in. You got to come to a live stream if you want to get some of these giveaways. So make sure you come in and get the Swift System for free. So join me live and join me in my next guest when we come back. But that clip, Alex, I'm going to bring you in only through sharing screen. So we're hanging out right now, Alex and I, over Zoom, because he's in Romania. I'm here in the United States, in Utah. And so I'm going to bring you in, share your screen, and we're going to go through this video. So now as I show my screen, you guys will not see Alex. Let me grab the Zoom window. Come on, Zoom window. You know you want to be here somewhere. It's like behind some window here. Where can I see the participants? Alex. Nope, that's me texting Alex. Sometimes this pops up and just kind of shows up somewhere, and sometimes it does not. So we'll just not see Alex for a moment, but you can hear Alex. So I am going to mute this video. And this is just the clip that I shared, and it's playing over the screen right now. So let me just kind of scrub a little bit. From this clip to this clip, did you change any of the gear that you had attached at that moment?
50mm f1.2, and I had the NiSi filter in front of my lens. And as you can see, it was a pretty I mean, not sunny day, but it was quite bright, yeah, because of the whole snow around and the haze and everything. And I think the filter, I wasn't at the max with the filter, but it managed to help me expose correctly and have the perfect settings on my camera. And I've shot this on the Sony FX3. So
Sony FX3 is your body, and you've attached, what lens are you typically playing around with?
I usually most of the time I use a 24-70 f2.8, where I put a NiSi filter in front, an 82 diameter filter from NiSi. But sometimes when I want to get creative, I use different lenses like the 50mm f1.2, which for this kind of shooting where you want to do something like beauty shots with models or anything like that, it looks really good.
With your crew here, are you handling the camera in all of these shots?
Yes.
Right on.
And I usually go, we have a small house in the woods here in Romania, and we usually go there and hang around with our grandparents, and we take our dog and we go for walks. And sometimes I want to film because I really love filming, man. This is what I do 24 hours. This is honestly one of my biggest passions, and I'll do anything just to take a camera out and film something.
Yeah, right on, man. We're going to see 2 other videos of yours. We're going to see some more of your skill set here. But with these shots, does anything stand out as a good example of some of your branding, your style of filmmaking?
Not necessarily. I think this is mostly this is a video that I did just to do like a lens and camera testing, just to show people how this lens looks on this camera. So I didn't really focus that much on making like a visual style or exposing my style that much in this video. Usually when I film commercials is where I get my creativity to the next level. And on videos like this that I do for YouTube's are just videos for people to see the results of camera plus lens. So
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
it's something that I usually search for whenever I want to buy something. Like you want to buy a car, you want to see how it runs on all terrains or anything like that. That's what I do with cameras. Like I test them in different kind of situations with different lenses, and people can judge by themselves if they love the result that they got from this setup or not.
Right on. So, real quick, before I go back into the other clip, and I'm going to bring back Alex, I wanted to ask, when you are working with this gear out in the weather like this, do you find yourself dealing with condensation or anything on the lens? Is that a big problem?
Yeah, honestly, it happens in a lot of cases. But one thing that I realized with the NiSi filter was that it has this I don't know exactly how it's called in English. I think it's water. It's the filter is water resistant, I would
Oh,
say.
yeah.
Like, yeah, because I've got droplets on because it was snowing. I've got droplets of snow on my filters, and it doesn't stick to the filter. I think it has a coating that doesn't allow water to stay on the filter, and I think this is a really important thing to have on a filter. And I think it's also more resistant to scratching than other filters. Because, for example, I'm a little bit of not the best organizer when it comes to
I feel
putting
you.
gear on my bag. And sometimes I just threw things because I'm in a hurry or anything like that. And I screwed up a lot of filters in the past. But this one, I have it like for 2.5 years already. And I think it's doing all right. I think it's still doing fine.
Right on. The organization is something that we all try to tackle, and so we'll probably hit up a
Yeah.
little bit at the very end of the live stream. We're going to talk about some of your specific tips for newbie beginner filmmakers. We'll talk a little bit about what you've done for film for having that organization, because nothing is worse when you get on location like at that cabin that you had out in the woods and then have a very critical piece of gear missing. Uh
I think I'm gonna need some advice for that as well. Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and get into some of the specifics of the gear. I'm gonna bring Alex in again as a shared viewing participant of this. Oh, cool. Looks like I finally had some cooperation from Zoom on the second attempt. So now we're actually able to see Alex here in a second when I'm showing you what essentially is just a PDF featuring the 15 functions of the Swift system. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. So I'm going to go pull it up. So this Swift system, easily said, has 15 functions. And you're thinking, okay, well, what are they? As you look at the pieces of gear, you've got that ND filter that has the variable from 1 to 5. You got the 4 stops one that you could add on top of that. So then setting 1 plus the 4 gives you a 5, or you have this set for 5 and then get up to even a 9 stops. So you get 9 stops of light blocked here on them combined. Plus you got the black mist. You mentioned the black mist, Alex, while you were doing the, oh, you know what? Funny enough, I put your picture right behind mine, and I made sure that everyone just saw me and not you. So now Alex has joined us again. You can see him over here, as well as seeing what the picture is down below. You mentioned the black mist filter. You used it a little bit in that last clip we were showing, didn't you?
On the last clip, no.
No. Okay.
I only used the ND, the NiSi True Color ND, but I usually use black mist filters whenever I film with models because I think it removes imperfection from the skin and the blemishes, and it also cuts the highlight a little bit. So I think it's like the perfect filter for filming female faces and
Ah.
also men's faces as well, but usually female faces require more attention, let's say.
So let me do something here that I have fun with when I do in my live streams with my groups. I'm going to pull up
Yep.
a little circle here. And basically that circle, you won't see, Alex, but the audience will. When you're working with just these two filters in the beginning of the system, the ND filter and the 4-stops, how often do you, oh, you know what? if this is going to dynamically change, I need to change this. Okay, here we go. I'm making it dynamic now. Everyone can watch me move this around on the screen now. So when you're looking at just these first two, the ND filter vario plus the 4-stops, how often do you pull in the 4-stops?
Honestly, uh,
Not
quite not so often, because I think the 1 to 5 stop is super good for me. I mean, it's most of the cases more than enough. To be honest, probably if I would use 1.2 in super harsh daylight, that, or 1.4 f1.4 1.2, that's where I would take into consideration having the 4-stop with me as well. Yeah.
So then we're looking at the black mist, which you just mentioned a few use cases for. How about the UV IR cut? Have you come into something where you really like to cut off that IR range, or anything that's really beneficial for that?
Not with Sony cameras. I encountered some IR problems with Red cameras, and I didn't have the IR cut filter, but I think it could have been super helpful. But with Sony cameras, you already have really good sensors, and I didn't have problems with that.
Okay, right on. And then the last one's just an adapter ring. That's just in the situation where you want to take one of the black mist or UV IR and put it on your lens directly, where you don't have the ND vario. So if there's an adapter to allow you to screw things in without having other elements not here that usually stack better. So we're going to get rid of the circle. We're going to go to the next few steps. So we've got all of the gear discussed. It's just these 5 rings, and that's the entire Swift system, and there's 15 functionality. You've got the 1 through 5 ND stop. You got the 1 through 5 plus the 5 through 9 stops. Then you can add that plus the black mist. Have you used the black mist plus the ND filter and had any sort of color issues? I know true color is the goal of the ND vario. It is a true color glass. Have you had any issues adding the black mist on top of it?
No,
Oh, good.
no issues at all. I think it looks amazing. This is one of the things that I want to touch about this ND, is that I recently shot something. We had 2 cameras, and I had one true color ND on my camera, and we had a different kind of ND on the other camera.
Oh yeah.
And I had to grade both of the footage, and the ND true color was looking perfect. Like the everything that I shot looked amazing, and the other camera everything was super green and was looking, it was a pain to grade. So this is where you truly appreciate what you have sometimes, like when you have something that is super high quality.
Yeah, absolutely. With these two combined, I'm imagining it's just simply the magnetic snap on, boom, ready to go, right?
Yeah. I think
love that.
super versatile.
Yeah, seriously. So that's just 3 of the functions. Then we go into 4, where you start bringing in the IR cut plus the vario, the IR cut plus more stops, the IR cut plus, actually this is basically different by virtue of, oh yeah, that was just black mist, and it was barely any change on the graphic here, so I couldn't tell, but it's UV IR cut to a black mist. That's the change right there. And now the black mist additionally on there. Everything is compatible, and that's the thing that's so impressive to me, is that when you start stacking multiple filters, you tend to get a vignetting. Have you noticed any vignetting show up on your lens?
No, everything was fine.
Really?
I mean, I haven't tested it with like 14 millimeter lens or something like that, but I've tested it with like 24, and I didn't have any vignetting or anything like that.
Oh man,
But
awesome.
I mean below 24 I didn't go. So I don't know if it had vignetting or not, but I don't think so.
Right on. Okay, cool. So I've jumped out of sharing those graphics. We went through some of the tech stuff, but let's get back into some of the benefits of the true color variable filter. And we're going to show it off with a clip. But before well, no, let's just go to the clip next, and then we'll go into some of these tips and the new filter system. So I'm going to give a clip here where Alex is sharing what he loves about using filters, why he uses filters. And then we'll come back to Alex and let him expand on that. So let me go to clip.
If you're like me, shooting outdoor a lot, you know how important lens filters are, especially if you shoot with a camera like Sony FX3 that doesn't have internals NDs. And so, we need a super high quality variable ND filter that doesn't color shift and have problematic vignetting or cross-hatching artifacts. In my opinion, the NiSi True Color VND is the best variable ND on the market, eliminating all the problems I already mentioned and keeping your colors as good as possible. Nowadays, it's all about speed, so we need a system that allows us to swipe filters super fast, and that's why NiSi has come up with the Swift system that allows you to swap or add filters in seconds. And the best thing about this is that this filter system is stackable, so you can mount 1, 2, or even more filters at the same time. Recently, I've been experimenting with black mist filters, which now I can add either to my True Color variable ND filter or to the one True Color ND from NiSi. The black mist filters allows me to get super creative and create images that makes me stand out. This is why I always choose NiSi filters.
Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. So you had a chance to watch that other awesome video where, you got to understand the work that comes into making a video clip like this. It's so fast paced. It tells you so much, and it's just stellar for how you show off Alex's method as he's going through working with the model, working with the car, getting the right angle, dealing with the light that he's been given. And so now we're going to break it down again with Alex and talk more about the variable ND filter and other filters that he's using in the system. So let's get back here to Alex. Hey, Alex, we're going to watch the clip again as I scrub through this. So obviously you have someone helping out film you, and there's your Sony Alpha.
Yes.
So with these clips that you're capturing from the lens that we're watching, it's coming up here soon because you're kind of showing off the gear. Oh, I love this transition. Let's just play it. I love this transition as he's putting on the filter and then he puts it up in front of the girl and then transitions to what the camera sees. I love that. So here, this is from your camera that you were holding, right?
Exactly. So everything that you see, so every shot that you see where I'm not visible, it's basically shot by me. So here's a good example, what I was talking about, that the footage looked so good from my camera compared to the behind the scenes camera. We both used the same camera, the same lens, but we had a different filter on top. And as you can see, the skin tones and everything looks really good from my camera. But when we switch to the behind the scenes camera, it looks a little bit not the same. It doesn't have the same quality. It doesn't have the same colors as how it looks on my camera. And that is mostly because of the filter that we used. So I used the NiSi filters, and the behind the scenes camera had a different kind of filter. So one thing that I want to say as well is that recently I come from a high production level of cinematography where we use ton of gear. We use cinema lenses, we don't use autofocus, we don't use photo glass, or we have to use a crew in order to shoot something like this. And what I wanted to show is that with a system like this, you are able to shoot and film something that looks highly professional, but with a smaller gear and a smaller setup that allows you to work super fast. And I think this is what NiSi Swift filter is intended to creators that want to work super fast, want to work in high quality formats, but on a level that requires you to be as fast as possible. So I hopefully you can see that from the video, but from my point of view, I think the images look amazing, and it's also a very difficult situation to film in. I mean, we have a really strong backlight in the background. We have a lot of clouds, so this situation requires you to have a ton of dynamic range. And if you have a poor filter, you might have a lot of spill on the glass, and this might ruin your dynamic range. But with the NiSi filter, the True Color ND in front, and even with the Pro Mist, it allows you to capture the highest dynamic range possible on your camera and still have amazing quality.
It is stellar as I walk through here. Oh, wait. I got to interrupt. I've got to interrupt real quick because there's a clip right here that really shows off something that is my favorite. Probably my favorite quirk about you, and I love it. I think I'm jealous of it right here, if everyone's noticing it. You're dedicated, man. You are dedicated as a filmmaker. I love that he has a record tattoo on his hand, and he has included rewind, play, stop, fast forward. That's awesome. How long have you had those tattoos?
I've 1 year, I think.
Only
I think
this
1
last
year.
year. Okay.
Yeah.
When did you get the idea? Was it someone else who recommended it to you, or did you think of it? Like, I gotta do this.
I honestly, these are my hand working, and I usually press record with my thumb because I hold the grip and I press like this. So I thought about it that it could be really cool to have the rec button there. And I don't know if it's visible, but here on my thumb, I have also the stop button. So,
yeah, you do have the other stop button.
Yeah. And I also have a camera here that is pretty big. It's a deconstructed camera, and a lot of
really cool.
filmmaking tattoos.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a kind of a nerd like you, but I look like a nerd. You look like a stud. You get out there and filmmake. I mean, you could be included in your video clip like this and not ruin the shot with the model. I get in there and I'm in the clip with the model. They're like, this isn't going to work for us. We don't want to see you in the clip. So you're freaking awesome, man. So as I'm going in here, you're putting on the black mist, it looks like. And you're talking about it in the video at one point. Was that the actual black mist or just another ND filter? It might have been the 4-stop. Yeah, because you're adding on and adding on. That wasn't the black mist. Yes. It was just the ND filter. But now I think, okay, you're just showing off the ease of just swapping. When you are handling a handheld recording on a slow shutter, but then you have a wide open aperture, okay, that's where the black mist comes in. We'll talk about that in a second. What do you do to make those shots work? Do you do any of the math, or is it trial and error?
When I do slow shutter effects?
Yeah, you jump down to the slow shutter stuff. Do you try to change your exposure based off some math?
No, I basically, what I do is I set my camera to 25 frames per second, and I drop down my shutter speed to 1x4, and that's it. And I move the camera a little bit more dynamic, let's say. And in post-production, I speed up that footage to 50 frames per second. So it looks a little bit faster. And that's pretty much it.
Gotcha.
But I have to have an ND filter on my camera because otherwise I would have to change the aperture a lot. And if I increase the aperture too much, it's not gonna look that cinematic. So I want to keep my aperture as down, I mean as wide open as possible, in order to have it have the effect work.
Okay, awesome. As I'm looking at the depth of field being so strong because it's a very wide open aperture, as the solid colors come through from the scene, what is it that you're doing? Actually, I'm interrupting myself now, because what is it you're doing here to get that effect? Is it just moving the camera fast? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's the slow shutter effect.
That is right there. A good example of it. Okay, cool. I got to keep playing that.
Yes, that's the slow shutter effect.
So that is one of your main branding looks that you include. Have you included it multiple times in this video, or is that the only one?
I think so, yeah. I think it's might be visible 1 or 2 times. That's actually a clip from another commercial that I filmed, because that's a Porsche and we filmed with my car. So also regarding my passion for filmmaking, if you look at the car's plate number, it's also regarded to filmmaking.
Oh,
So
25 frames per second.
that, yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's
Yeah, so
awesome. Oh my gosh, you're giving me so many ideas. If only I could do this. We have a friend
yeah.
in the audience named Ayla, Ayla. Do you know her?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe we're getting spammed. If it wasn't someone who actually is a friend of yours, then I think we're getting some ugly spam filter. Let's go ahead and report that so someone will get rid of it because they're hitting on us. So we don't want to get hit on during our live stream. We'll get that out of the chat.
Okay.
I thought maybe it was someone you knew because they said, hey, and they had a big old happy face, but that's not what I saw. So going back into the black mist filter being added on, there's a cool clip that really shows the transition that happens here. The change from the before black mist to adding the black mist right here. I
Yeah.
love it. You see her there.
Yeah.
Explain to everyone who's uninitiated on the benefits of the black mist filter.
So one of the things that you can realize when I put a black mist filter is you have to look at the lights in the background. So basically, that's where you're gonna see a difference. So the lights get more diffused.
Yeah, so I'm looking
And
right here. I can see these lights
yes,
right there, just simple
yes.
circles, and then
And when you put them, you can see that they get more diffused and you get more
ah,
color out of them. So basically, this amplifies your lighting. If you want to get flares on your lens, this is a helpful tool to get that. If you want to get like a more vintage look, a more stronger pro mist filter in front will help you more, and or black mist filter. Sorry, so many pro mist alternatives. And what you can see is basically that's why I use the light in this situation, is to show you how beautiful you see the flaring of the light. And it also, like I said, it gives the light more saturation.
yeah, I like the
From
color balance that comes in from
yeah,
it.
yeah. So you can do a lot of color contrast shots that help you have, even though a promise filter actually decreases your contrast, but if you play good with colors, it can increase your color contrast, and therefore it can increase your contrast in your videos and make it look better.
I really love how vibrant the light is right
Yeah.
here. I mean, that is just like the sun is setting on the beach and you see it coming in the side window of the car. That is really
Yeah.
gorgeous. Oh,
And it
man.
also softened the skin of models. So
Mm.
whenever I shoot TV commercials, um, most of the time I shoot with a lot of big artists, like a lot of musicians or a lot of people that are big influencers or anything like that. And usually I film this with women, and they want their faces to be perfect, like nothing shiny, nothing, no blemishes, no nothing. And I put a filter like this in front, and they love what they see. So it makes my job way easier. So I don't have to go in post production and have to edit and do beauty corrections.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a shortcut that becomes. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Have you used the black mist filter in any scenario, maybe not in this scene, that stands out as one of your favorite use cases or an example of where you've used it and it went just brilliantly?
I usually use it whenever I work with lights. Like if I mean, let's say if I want to make shots more interesting, I would definitely use black mist filters, but I don't use them all the time. I
Okay.
try to make a balance between projects. Like there might be a project where I want to use it, and there might be a project where I don't want to use it. So I always try to balance it. But whenever I film beauty shots, I use it all the time. So for me, beauty shots come with from black mist filters.
Right
Now,
on.
what I want to say is that I am a strong believer of shooting everything in camera. So as much as I can, I try to shoot everything that I want straight out of the camera and not have to do a lot of post production on it. Obviously, I like my colors to work in post production, but whenever it comes to the effects that I have on the image, I want to have them in camera right when I'm filming, because this saves me a lot of time. And I think uh, filmmaking, like other businesses as well, it's I mean, filmmaking is a business as well. This is what I want to say. And time is money. So in my case, if I can film a project faster and if I can edit it faster, I can make more money. And therefore, if I have the right tools to film faster and work faster, therefore, it means that I can make more money at the end of the day. So that's why I try to make everything in camera when I shoot, so I don't have to struggle in post-production, and I can finish the video or the edit as fast as I can, so I can move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. So having small things like this, like a filter that helps me save maybe 1 or 2 hours in post-production, hell yeah, I'll take it and I'll use it.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, we actually have a great question that I'm going to interrupt us about, because Sebi asked the question, hey, Alex, you said that you can play with colors. He says,
Yep.
I'm curious, when you take shots on Cine D, is it flat as possible or do you use default settings by camera? So Cine D.
I'm not I think Cine D is maybe on Panasonic cameras, as far as I know, but on Sony cameras I always used S-Log 3, and I leave the log footage as it is. I don't modify anything in camera when it comes to S-Log footage. I used to film with Panasonic cameras when I started, and I wasn't using Vlog. I was using Cine D or something like that, like the one that mentioned it, but I don't remember the settings, so I'm sorry
Gotcha.
about that.
Yeah, no worries. So when you're dealing with it, though, and you think about it from the colors, do you keep the colors flat as possible when you're working with your setting?
So whenever I'm shooting with Sony cameras, I just leave them in S-Log 3, and even the white balance, I leave it to 5200, and I'll change it in post. There's a lot of misconception about shooting raw and shooting non-raw. Everyone is so hyped about shooting video with raw codecs, and I think it's amazing to have raw files, but I think it's such an overrated thing, because I have this. I'm using the Sony A7S III or FX3 or FX6. It's a 10-bit codec camera, and I can not change the white balance in any situation, and I can go in post-production and change it as I would change a raw codec. And from my point of view is that cameras nowadays are so powerful that you don't really need that raw file.
Oh, right on. That makes it a
Yeah,
lot
so-
easier to deal with, especially.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and let me hit this button. There, now you can see me. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah. So, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you another clip, and this clip is gonna come straight from NiSi and just emphasize the interesting functions of the Swift system and how easily it is to attach and use on your cameras. So let's watch this quick short clip. All right. Okay, so now we're going to show off some of the vignetting. We were talking about that, how you throw on the lens, and you just saw in that clip that there wasn't any vignetting, and I'm just going to re-emphasize that real quick. As, you know, I think I will bring you into this, man. I think I'll let you hang with us while I do it. So let me share the screen with you, Alex, so that you can see what I'm showing them, and bring you in right now. So here's the vignetting test. as we have our actual
Oh,
building
yeah.
being adapted with no vignetting at 16 millimeter, but with the ND filter 1 through 5. And then we're going through another setting at 18 millimeter with the ND 1 through 9. And then also at 20 millimeter with the ND 1 through 9 plus the mist filter. And you really can see the performance of vignetting is just stellar. There's no noticeable vignetting at all. Have you ever run into it? You mentioned earlier that you don't.
No, I haven't seen any beginning at all.
That's fantastic. I mean, when you start
Yeah.
stacking all of these different filters on the end, you expect to have some imperfections in the glass where you're going to have issues in the corners, but you just don't. You really don't. Fantastic. Here's some quick information for the nerds, just so that everyone's curious about all of these parts. Just the ND4 stop. Here's some, you can pause and read this amongst yourselves, but there's some extra features. We mentioned earlier how he noticed the water droplets were coming off and that the condensation wasn't a big deal. It's because of the nano coating and waterproofing and anti-reflective coating. So that is pretty fantastic on the ND4 stop. The true color, it also goes down to 16 millimeter focal length lenses without any vignetting. So anything wider than that, you'll probably start to see it, as well as any color issues you're going to have. Oh, that's selecting and adding too much information on the, but true color result that avoids the color shift. That is cool right there. You might not have seen it, but on the gear you have this optional rotating lever that you can actually be removed if you wanted to, so you can press on, easily install and take off. Just without having used it myself, is there a use case where you're like, I wish this was gone, I don't want this? Have you ever taken yours off?
I think mine came without it on, as far as I remember. So I had it like separately in the package, but I haven't used it. I don't know, maybe for photography, whenever your camera is on sticks and you want to just dial in just a little bit. But as I work really fast and I might touch it or anything like that, I don't have to use it.
That's not a big priority. Yeah, in photography, we're dealing with the dynamic range of a fleeting sunset. With video, you can capture that whole change, but with us, we might change it just a little bit, tweak here, or if the waterfall, we might be tweaking it. But yeah, these are freaking amazing. This whole gear, this whole setup with the Swift kit 1 through 9 stops. You got the Swift kit add-on kit, and you got that one at the very bottom with the Swift V&D mist kit. That includes everything, including the caddy, the lens filter, and the black mist, and all the extra 4 stops. So that's sweet. So here's the actual gear for those of you who are just drooling about thinking about that actual gear and playing around with it. But let's go into our final clip. We've mentioned the black mist. We've mentioned how that has been a huge benefit. And what Alex said is that if you have lights in your scene, and you're going to see some lights, whether it's nighttime or you're putting some warm lights into your shot, that's when the black mist filter really comes in and shines. And we're going to show off a video of him showing off the techniques and using that black mist filter right now. Let's go into that final clip before this live stream is over.
We always hunt for creativity, and our gear plays a major role in achieving what's on our mind. Sometimes you might not have access to creative lenses, and you might want an image with character. Well, NiSi has got you covered with the black mist filters that create a more cinematic look and is commonly used to soften wrinkles, blemishes, and creates a more flattering image, perfect for shooting beauty shots. NiSi's black mist filter suppresses highlights and lifts shadows for a well-balanced contrast that makes your image have a more cinematic feel. It comes in 3 stages of strength. 1x8, which is less intense and it's perfect when you want to keep it clean but with a little bit of twist. 1x4, I think, is the best for all-around work, when you still want a crisp image but you still want a ton of creativity and flaring. And 1x2, which is the most intense, making your image super soft, removing all wrinkles and giving your lenses a lot of character. These are NiSi's black mist filters.
All right. Okay, so looking at this clip again, we're going to go through it and study it like we have the other clips. And Alex, I have this video on mute so they can't hear it, but we're seeing you in a studio setting using the black mist filter. What were some of the benefits of using it in this setting?
So right now you can see a little bit of how the image looks without the NiSi filter, the black mist. And here we have 3 stages of black mist. So what I'm trying to show people is how the image changes when you put the black mist in front. And as you can see, everything looks way more creative from my point of view. And also her skin tones becomes way smoother. And this is what I was talking about whenever I go and film models or commercials with females, is that I like to have this black mist filters with me because it helps me a ton, and it also makes everything look way better. Like, as you can see, it adds more color contrast, and that beautiful yellow light in the background becomes way more interesting. She becomes way softer when we talk about the skin tones and everything. So from my point of view, I think it turns the image upside down and looks way better.
When you're dealing with focusing in a tight space like this and you're having such a shallow depth of field, have you ever had any issues with focusing and pulling focus with these filters all stacked on there? Did they start to cause you any sort of delay or challenge?
No, because I use autofocus.
Yeah,
So,
even easier.
yeah, I'll have to ask my Sony camera about this, but
You know what? If autofocus is working with these all stacked on there, that's enough of a demonstration that is fantastic. Awesome.
honestly, I was so anti autofocus a few
Really?
years ago. Yeah, I was one of the people who hated autofocus and was all the time complaining and saying to people, "Oh, you use autofocus, you're not pro," and all that. And now I'm the one who uses autofocus every day, and I think it's like the best invention ever. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my cinema lenses, I love using them, but whenever I have to work fast, I just put on an autofocus lens, I put on the NiSi BND and maybe the Pro Mist and the Black Mist in some situations, and I'm ready to go. I don't have to stress about anything else. Just I have to be creative, and that's it. Because honestly, though, if you have to have your mind to be like focusing on more tasks at once, you're obviously not going to be as productive, or you're not going to be as creative as you could be if you remove some of the things that you have to focus about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. Yeah,
The less distractions, more success and execution. Absolutely.
exactly.
Which
Yeah.
is why the Swift system is so brilliant with the way that it adapts and plug it in there. You can get a lot of benefits fast and have your execution stay top notch without all the distractions.
Imagine you don't have to lose time. You just stack it on, you put it on, and you're ready to go. And I think time is so important nowadays, especially with how fast times runs by and how much smaller days are. You definitely want to save up some time, especially when you change filters. So if you can change filters fast, why not
Right.
spend some time there?
That's the perfect segue into the final steps. But before I give you the final question to end this live stream with, I want to bring up what Sebi said. Sebi's like, hey, thanks for the answer. Appreciate that. And by Cine D, he meant, yeah, it's on Panasonic. He wanted to say Vlog with his question. He was talking about Vlog. He meant to talk about Vlog the whole time. So awesome. Thanks, Sebi, for the contribution and the question. So for those of us who are myself learning, using YouTube as a chance to play the filmmaker dream out that I've always wanted to have, and then you, Sebi even, what are some of the advice you'd give to these new filmmakers when you're getting out there and you're filmmaking and you're trying to find your style, find your proper execution? What are some of the 2 to 3 basic must-haves for a newbie filmmaker?
In terms of gear? Or...
Well, let's do it this way. Let's tackle it from, give us an idea of what's one thing that you wish you knew 5 years ago that you know now, that you're like, okay, I wish I knew this. This has been awesome. It'll help me a ton. Then let's talk about a little gear. So let's talk about the execution and principles of filmmaking, and then we'll get specific about gear before we end it today.
So from my point of view, I think filmmaking is like a muscle. You you have to train it every day in order to get bigger and bigger. The same goes with filmmaking. You have to train yourself, your eyes, your mind to see different. Like my eyes now are trained to see different kind of things, which I couldn't see 3 to 4, 5 years ago. Even though if I were to give an advice for somebody or for myself 5 years back, I honestly would say film as much as you can. Just go out there, explore, and not be afraid of uh failing, or don't be afraid of what everyone thinks about yourself, because I had a lot of people doubting me a few years back. I had, like, for example, I finished film school, and my final film for the film school was something to with astronauts. I wanted to film something with astronauts, and everyone was saying, you cannot do this, it's impossible, blah blah blah, and all that.
Yeah.
And I proved everyone that I can. And I think like from my journey and from what I do, I think the best advice that I have to say is that practice really makes things perfect. And you just have to film every day, explore as much as you can, watch a lot of YouTube tutorials, because these are free. You can learn a lot.
Yeah.
For example, even now I watch a lot of behind the scenes from a lot of big movies, and I try and look how they put the lighting there, why they put it there, what camera they use, how they use it, and all that. I try to learn techniques only by looking at behind the scenes. And when it comes to gear, I think, like, from my point of view, like, the best thing you can buy that will hold you years from now, and the like, if I had to recommend a package for a filmmaker, it would be the Sony FX3 with the 24-70 f2.8 and a NiSi filter in front, and you would be ready to go. You can make probably the Hollywood images with this setup, to be honest. So honestly, I think from my point of view, even though I didn't say anything remarkable, I would say, in terms of like my advices, but to be honest, I think this is the most realistic advice that I can say.
Right.
Because I think if I wouldn't work that much and stay 24 hours studying about filmmaking and just taking out my camera, go outside, do a test, come back in, see how the test worked, and work, I think I wouldn't be in the same position as I am today. Even though I have a lot more to learn, and I want to learn more and more and more, because I think this is the beauty of this domain, is that it's endless, and you always have something to learn. You're never gonna get bored of it. So
Right.
I think there's always something new for you to learn, and this is why I love it.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to bring myself back in this chat. Let's see if I can do it. Speaker view. Speaker view is going to let me have it back. Aaron King, are you in here? No, I still can't show. Show self view. Here we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and do gallery where we're side by side, because we're going to end this with your advice and going into a giveaway. And little hint, Sebi, you've won it. So we are going to go ahead and do a giveaway today for your great questions, Sebi, for your participation. But I want to hit on what you talked about. You're thinking about that advice that it's not really profound, it's not really surprising, but actually it's completely true, and that's all that matters. There's not some sort of mystical accomplish this, lift this certain weight, and you'll be ripped. You know, it's just there's something about the exercise muscle of filmmaking that requires iteration, iteration, iteration. And when you go through all of the available tutorials that are on YouTube, the available tips, and just finding someone whose style that you really admire. Like, I'd recommend for Andrew and Sebi, who are on here talking, like, you guys look at Alex and see what he captured and how he did it, and then just try to recreate that scene. You'll find out once you pull your camera out for that same moment, you're like, well, it's easy. I just stand right here and swing to the right. And then you see it, how it shows up on your camera. You're like, oh, when I swing to the right like this, I'm shifting. I need to actually kind of do a pivot. I need to run my arms in this weird pivot that holds on the subject of the model right there in the center, and the way that it brings subjects behind her and parallax it behind. There's things that you'll recognize that you didn't realize when you watched it, but when you do it yourself, you'll see, oh, wow, okay, I got to think about that. I got to think about this. I should put my lights at a different height. I should change this. All of that's going to come with practice, and that's pretty fantastic. So thank you, Alex. So I'm going to go ahead and cover our faces with the graphic. Ba-boom. This right here is our giveaway. So Sebi, hook me up with your message. Now, I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and I don't have a better one with Ray, our contact through NiSi. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my email, man. Just go ahead and email aaron@photogadventures.com and send me an email that says, hey, I'm Sebi Bogdan. I'm ready to get a hold of this Swift. Oh, you know what? I didn't click the button that also put the picture up above me. I've been swinging my arms around the picture, but it hasn't even been on the screen. So this is what we're giving you, Sebi. This Swift VND Mist Kit. It's 1 through 9 stops. You're going to include everything from both ND filters, the variable plus the 4 stop that gives you the ability to actually go up to 9 stops or 8 or 7 or 6. And then you got the adapter ring, the lens cap, the caddy to hold everything, plus the brilliant looking black mist feature, the filter on there. That's going to feature the lights in a way that you couldn't get without the black mist filter. Forget any other mist filter that, you know, Alex mentioned. The black mist filter is the one that you want. So Jake says, so inspiring, Alex. He says, thanks for your time in here, Jake says. So thank you, Jake, for that comment. Sebi says, wow, thank you so much. I didn't expect. Ha ha ha. Yes,
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's a really cool package.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
NiSi
yeah.
is extremely extremely I won't say grateful, but I'm not saying they have huge gratitude. They have huge, the word is completely flitted from my mind. Generous. The word's generous.
Generous. Yeah.
Extremely generous from NiSi, showing how they were going to give everyone who joins us and participates in these live streams will be able to get something as well. So we're not just selling the product, we're also going to give it away. So if you have friends that you think would also want some of that product, make sure you keep an eye on this YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and then join us next time when we're live. Alex, thank you so much for taking time with us today. I'm going to echo what Sebi and Jake and Andrew are saying. Quality comes from quantity. That was Andrew. Jake says, so inspiring, Alex. Thanks for your time in here. Sebi says that, could you write it in chat, please? Oh, yeah, of course. He's not actually talking about Alex right now. He was like, how do I get this? I want to get this. You bet. Now, just know that this Otis character is actually me over here because I'm keeping quality control over on this side. So when Otis says it, it's me. That's just my gamer tag. So, you know, I got a life outside of this live stream. So go to aaron@photogadventures.com and we'll see if it even lets that chat pull up. So let me know if you saw that, Sebi, because sometimes when you put in a link or an email, YouTube's like, whoa, this guy's trying to advertise. So let me just write Photog Adventures separately because that'll come through. It's just Aaron, and my name is Aaron. All right, cool, awesome. So Alex, what are you doing next, man? We're going to hang up the call here. We're going to hang up the live stream, but what's your exciting adventure next?
So my next adventure is gonna be I'm gonna go in Brazil to film the F1. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool.
I just met a cute Brazilian girl. I'm hoping that she'll give me some time. Violetta. So hopefully you'll have some good luck out in Brazil too, man.
Yeah, hopefully I'm gonna get some nice shots. I'm not thinking about women, so
no worries. Stay focused
I'm
on
married.
the work.
I'm married. Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah,
awesome. Brilliant. Then make sure she's with you because there's going to be too many there. We're going to have a good time. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for participating with us on the live stream today. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for hanging out with us. We are done for the day. We'll be back again with a new host talking about the gear that is going to help your filmmaking or your photography go to the next level. So thank you so much, Alex, man. Have a great night. Have a great one. See you, everybody. Have a good one. And
thank you. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.